Hello folks and welcome to the July vlog. Okay, so it's the 11th of July that I'm starting this, but that's fine. I only put up the June vlog a couple of days ago anyway, so that always signals to me like, have I started the July vlog? And I hadn't. So welcome to July, let's talk books. First one I'm reading is a poetry collection. This is Flish. It's French, so I'm probably butchering it, I'm not gonna lie. This is by Mary Jean Chan. If you recall, I mentioned it in my Jalak Prize video where I read her newest collection and the name has completely escaped me, but the cover is yellow. Why has the name escaped me? It's not even coming to me. But I mentioned that I've been aware of this collection for a very long time and wanted to read it, but I just was unsure if I would like it. And I read her second collection because of the Jalak Prize and absolutely loved it. Ended up reading it again during that month. So I was like, yeah, let me get this on reserve and read this. So far I'm on page 33 and I'm liking it. I think how it compares to the first one that I read, I definitely prefer the other one that I cannot recall the name of, but it's not like I dislike this one. I think what's really apparent to me is how this author struggled with her sexuality and also coming out to her parents, and those are both themes that are in this collection and in the newest collection as well. There's a really lovely poem in here that I really like because it reminds me of some of the kind of healing work that I do, and why are there so many poems in here? I'm joking. It is called Conversation with Fantasy Mother. And the reason it reminds me of kind of some work that I do is they have this concept in this kind of program that I follow of like your magnetic like parents. So it is in this essence thinking of like, you know, the parent that you didn't have and whatever kind of thing you're trying to heal from. And in this one she says, like, she starts off saying, "Dear fantasy mother, thank you for taking my coming out as calmly as pond accepts a stone flung into its depths." And it's just so striking, you know. She talks about a cake and it says, "Let us celebrate, for today you are reborn as my beloved." And I think you just feel the weight of the emotion in this collection of, you know, I'm sure she loves, and I think that's one of the things that I do get from her other poems, that, you know, she really loves and cherishes her parents. I'm sure she loves her parents, but it's evident there was a whole struggle to, I guess, be close to them and then obviously have them accept her sexuality. So I like this reimagining of a parent that would have done that. So that was really nice. I'm enjoying that so far. I'm also reading at the moment this book, which is, oh, you can't see it, it's The Quiet Tenant. So this was actually a proof copy that I got from work, and I think like a couple of days ago I ran out of my fiction books to read. Actually, I still had Carla there, but I didn't want to read that. So I was like, let me actually go through the list of books and stuff that I still have yet to read, which weirdly is actually mainly non-fiction books. So I started reading this. Oh, I won't lie, I feel like I might DNF this. I'm on page 109 and I'm just not liking it. It's not actually that I find it irritating. I don't find any of the characters like fascination with our main character, who we know clearly is a serial killer and has this woman in his house, interesting. So this book is a premise of a woman that has been in a shed for a while and now she's like the woman in the house. That's literally how the chapters are titled, The Woman in the Shed, The Woman in the House. And you're like, okay. So Aiden clearly kidnapped her. Aiden is our main character, clearly kidnapped her about like 5 years ago, has kept her in this shed, has a wife and a daughter, but now they need to move to a different house. I think a lot of what I'm telling you, well, none of it is spoiler alert because it says it all in the blurb, but the wife dies, which isn't a spoiler because it's, I guess, not relevant to the story. I mean, maybe it will become relevant to the story, but that's why they move. And instead of, I don't know, killing her, he moves her from the shed to his house. And then there is another woman in the town that he lives in, Emily, who clearly fancies Aiden, and it's clearly about to be about her kind of attraction to him and her kind of orbiting his world. But obviously this man has a very dangerous secret. I guess one of the things I like about this book is, you know, you're let in from the offset about like the kind of character Aiden is, right? But what that does mean is Emily's kind of like, oh, like I fancy him and stuff like that. You're just kind of like, whoop, whoop, you know, but that's not her fault. She doesn't know that, does she? You know, but there's something about the way that this book is written that I'm not enjoying. I don't know, it's, all the women feel really, I guess, subservient, and I guess in this role, like, kind of woman in the shed has to be, but yeah, it's kind of, apparent through all of the characters. I just, yeah, I'm not really vibing with it. So I'm tempted to DNF it, but I'll keep on reading a little bit and see how I go. It might have to be one that I put away because I have now collected some books from the library, which I will show you in another clip, but I just wanted to get this one started and yeah, just kick myself into gear in starting off the July vlog. Hello guys. Do you know what? I feel like this July vlog is purely going to be one of those where it's purely a reading vlog because why do I feel like I'm doing nothing this month? I have been doing things, but this week, no. But all the other weeks, yes. But yeah, it is what it is, right? What was I going to say? I was going to talk about this book. I spoke about it in the last clip. I finished reading it. I think I ended up giving this 3 stars. I did like it. I did enjoy it. Not as much as the other collection, which I now have in my head. It's called Bright Fear. But both really solid. I actually think if I had read this, I wouldn't have been encouraged to read Bright Fear. I would have been like, oh, okay, maybe. Actually, I would have still read it because the only reason I read it was because it was on the July price. I would have been like, I read this and I thought it was okay. But yes, I very much enjoyed the first collection more than this one. But I think, you know, I gave the first collection like 4 or 5 stars and this 3. So it's not that I didn't enjoy it. 3 stars is I enjoyed it. Like I think sometimes when people are authors or they're on YouTube or they're on Twitter, they're like, why did you give my book 3 stars? And I'm like, 3 stars means I like the book. That's what it means, you know? There's nothing wrong with a 3-star for a book, in my opinion. So anyway, that's that on that. So I mentioned that I picked up some books from the library. Oh my god. So I mentioned I picked up some books from the library and it was these 2. So the first one is this book, We Were Girls Once. I will not lie to you, I think this was actually suggested to me on the kind of like Amazon, you may also like this. And I may also like it. I think it's very much in the same, it was probably recommended to me in the same vein of, I've forgotten, Night Bloom, which was longlisted. I don't know if it was ever shortlisted for the Women's Prize of Fiction this year. But this is about 3 friends. So Igor, Zina and Irife were always destined to be best friends ever since their grandmothers sat next to each other on a dusty bus in Lagos in the late 1940s, forging a bond that would last generations. But over half a century later, Nigeria is a new and modern country. As the young women navigate the incessant strikes and political turmoil that surrounds them, their connection is shattered by a terrible assault. In the aftermath, nothing will remain the same as life takes them down separate paths. So it says, Ego is now a So it says that Ego is a high-powered London lawyer. Zena's ambition is to be anyone but herself, but acting proves to be the ultimate catharsis. And Irefe surprises everyone by morphing from a practicing doctor to a ruthless politician's perfect wife. Now, I might be a little bit glutton for punishment because I just feel like I read the blurb of these books and I think, oh, that sounds very exciting. I want to know about the kind of thing that happened. And it's usually something that I'm like, oh, okay. Or it's usually something really horrific and I'm like, oh, God. Trigger warnings, right? So, yeah, I'm not sure I'm gonna, like, love it, but I always want to read more books that are about, you know, I'm assuming, yes, written by a Nigerian writer or someone from the diaspora, so Nigerian, but you know, that are written from the diaspora pertaining to their countries. So yes, I would always want to like support Black women in their writing and read more stories of friendship and growing up. So I'm gonna give it a go. I feel like it might be my next read because the other book that I picked up is this. I have been waiting for this book for a year. I have reserved it because I want to find the video in which I spoke about the second one. This is the 3rd book in a trilogy. Look at this. I think it's about 700 pages. I remember when I first noted, like when I originally reserved it, I did not notice that it was so... I saw the page number and I said, what? It's about, yeah, so it's close to 700 pages basically. I think it's just short of 700 pages. And yeah, the first one maybe 300 pages, the second one 500 pages. It was getting bigger and bigger. I should have known that it was going to get bigger and bigger, but I did not expect her to be doing this. But that is no problem for me. What I was going to say is, yeah, so I think I reserved this last year and I need to find the video in which I spoke about, hopefully where I spoke about the book, the second book. I think I really do recall speaking about that in a video, and I will link it up here because that will then solidify for me how long it has been that I've been waiting for this. Because I never thought I'd even get this. So the reservation was there. I even forgot that the reservation was there, even though I can go onto my library thing and I can see the reservation. This book was not coming to whoever had this book in their house. They were like, I'm not giving it up. I actually just thought they were never going to return it because you know some people do that. And then you get the email notification and you're like, oh, okay, I completely forgot about that. I haven't forgotten the plot or the blurb of this book, but I will have to read the like the last one, not read the last one obviously, like just read a little summary of it or read the blurb of it. But I think I want to read this other one first before I jump into quite a chunky one like this. Thing is, I am looking for more like chunky books, but not the ones that are like the super popular, the Donna Tartt, like The Secret History. I don't have any problem with that. Like I'm sure she's a writer of The Goldfinch, and I quite enjoyed that. But you know, something different. You know, yeah, along the lines. Actually, don't recommend me anything similar or traumatic to A Little Life, but you know, something that is quite involving. You know, and is long. So I don't mind. I think I actually miss reading long books. Like most books I read these days are under 300 pages, or they're 300 to like 400 pages. So I'm looking forward to this, but I feel like, because I've got a lot of books like out from the library, and I've got a couple more that I need to pick up, so maybe that's going to be in another clip. Like I need to be returning something at least, you know. I feel like I need to be exchanging when I go and pick up these books. So I'm going to leave this one for a bit, but this is in the Relentless, well, this is called The Relentless Moon. Is it not the name of the series as well? I don't know what the name of the series is then, but the first book in this is The Calculating Stars, and then the next book is The Fated Sky. Calculating Stars was actually a recommendation to me, and I put off reading it for a while, and then I read it, and then I was like, oh, I really like this, and I was happy to like pick up the next one in the series, and then I had to wait a whole freaking year. I could have bought the book myself, but I actually just genuinely forgot about the series. But it says here, I know from the last one that the first one they had taken people to the moon because there was some sort of natural disaster, and then in the second one they wanted to take people to Mars. Now it says two worlds, one humanity. It's 1963 and riots and sabotage plague the space program. The climate change caused by the meteor is becoming more and more clear, but tensions are rising, and the IAC's goal of getting humanity off Earth is threatened. And then it says here something I'm confused about. It says astronaut Nicole Walken lives two lives. One as the politician's smiling wife on Earth, and the other as an astronaut on a newly established moon base. But when the sabotage strikes, she finds that her two worlds are colliding with deadly consequences. I could swear that the main character I was reading about, her name is Eva. I feel like this is one of the other characters, like her friend, one of her other astronaut people, so maybe they've changed the main character. I could be wrong. I need to revisit it, but I am excited to finally get into this. So yeah, more books to read. So funny, I'm wearing the same t-shirt that I was wearing in the other clip. I know this because I've just edited that clip. I promise you it's a different day. Hey guys, and welcome to the end of the July vlog. I don't have any video clips from anything I did during the month of July, and we are 9 days into August, so I thought it was about time I wrapped this up, finished editing it, and uploaded it. August so far, I do have some clips, so at least you will have evidence that I do other things with my life and just talk about books. For the month of July, I actually read 6 books, which when I spoke about my May vlog, I also had read 6 books, and I said it was because it was a really busy month and it was the lowest amount of books I had read in a month so far. And now it's the same for the month of July. I could really feel when I was in July that actually it was like a slow burn, and I'm not really sure why. I wouldn't say that I had as many plans or things to do in July as I did in May. Actually, I know that wasn't the case, so I'm not really sure why, but as I take a look through the stats, maybe it'll become evident to me. But yeah, 6 books with an overall rating of 3.25 stars, and we have ratings like across the board here. Usually I go through the ratings at the end, but just because I just mentioned the average rating, I'll just go through each one. So I ended up giving 2 books 2 stars. One book got a 3 star, one book got a 3.5, another 4 stars, and then there was a 5-star book. So Storygraph have added some other stats in here for you as well. So now they give you a kind of like average time of how long it takes you to like finish a book. So for the month of July for me it was 9 days. As with averages, like, I guess so annoying because there'll be days where I finish books, there'll be times when I finish books, you know, in 3 days, and then other times it is like, you know, maybe 10 days or something like that, or a little bit longer, so then the averages always end up like being quite long. And I'm like, because I think right now my overall time it takes me to like finish reading a book, like from July, oh no, is it actually in general? I think it's from January to like August. It's saying 16 days, and I'm just like, that is not an accurate representation. It's just some books have taken me so long because I just like haven't picked them up. But anyway, I will ignore some of the other stats that talk about mood and pace because I just don't really feel like they are relevant. In terms of books, in terms of like page numbers, oh actually before I say that, Storygraph has started doing this really cool thing where you do like, they do graphics for your monthly like wrap-ups. So I will put my one on the screen and it just shows you the actual covers of the books that I read during the month of July. But back to what I was saying about page numbers. So in terms of page numbers, I think it probably has more of a split than this, but it has basically done it is half the books I read were, well, 2 of the books I read were between 300 and 499 pages, and then 2 of them were under 300 pages. The other 2 were audiobooks, so both of those audiobooks were under 8 hours long. If we're looking at a split of fiction versus non-fiction, this month we have half and half, but do bear in mind that poetry is counted in non-fiction, and I personally would always count the outwith of both of those. To me, they just kind of like don't, like, I feel like they do fall closely to more non-fiction, but I would just put it in its own category. And then I will put up on the screen the genres, because I don't know, I never really look at this, but looking at it now I'm like, oh, what book is like the first one? And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then if we look at format, we can see that print is king, and then there are 2 audiobooks as well. So just in terms of what the books are, I won't like dive into speaking about them, but the first book that I finished during the month of July was You Be Mother, Meg Mason. I read another Meg Mason book the month before, and I don't know who had recommended this, but the fact that she had 2 books out, they were quite different. I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot, because if I don't like the first one, at least if the second one is like quite different, maybe I'll like that. Both of her books are not for me. She's not an author that I will be picking up again. I read Flesh by Mary Jean Chan. I think I mentioned that earlier in one of the clips, but I ended up enjoying it. I gave it 3 stars. You Be Mother I gave 2 stars. A book that I listened to on audio is called Polysecure, Attachment, Trauma and Consensual Non-Monogamy. A very, very fascinating book, but it was also really fascinating in its way of talking about like attachment styles. I've not read that book, Secure, or whatever it is, the one I can see with the magnet. I can just see the book in my head, the cover in my head. I gave this book 5 stars because I thought it just covered so much ground in terms of like attachment theory, but then also all the stuff it was talking about in terms of like consensual non-monogamy. Another book that I finally got around to reading, and I'm so glad like I finally read it, is Minor Feelings, A Reckoning on Race and the Asian Condition. I gave this 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it, and I think there were so many, like, the reason why I ended up reading this is because I know a lot of women of colour have read it and talked about how like Kathy explained so many of the kind of things that they feel, even though they are like from a different race than her. So that's why I kind of ended up reading this, and also because I just feel like I don't read books from other like women of colour around surrounding race, so I just wanted to like obviously see like what they had to say. I thought it was really good. I think sometimes it just kind of veered off in terms of like talking about like race, which is fine. I think if it was, it would be like overkill, but at some points I was just like, at what point does this become relevant? And some points I was like, I'm not sure that was. Another book that I finished is We Were Once Girls. I believe I spoke about this and I said I don't know if I was like glutton for punishment. I am, because I ended up giving this book 2 stars. I enjoyed the writing style. I think I didn't like, overall I didn't dislike the book. I just finished reading it and was just like, oh, okay. Well, one thing I will say I liked about this book is I liked how we hear from the perspective of 3 different characters, and what I liked is with each character we like move on to, we progress through time. It's not like, you know, with a lot of stories, when you go to another character, you go back to like a certain incident and see things all the way from like their point of view. This one didn't do that. Wherever we left off with one character, we picked off with the other character, so we were always moving the story forward, which I liked. And then the final book that I finished off listening to was Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. I listened to this, God, I think it said about like 6 years ago, so this is a re-listen to me for me. And yeah, I really enjoyed it this time around as much as I enjoyed it last time around. The Booker Prize was one of the first videos I put up on my channel. I'm not sure if it's still up, but I did mention that I listened to this in audio because I could not get on board with the, I think I had it on the Kindle actually. I was like, listen, what is this book? But listening to it as audio, like, I think it's wonderful, and it's actually what sparked my love of audiobooks, because this has a really full cast, so it's not like every audiobook is going to be like that, but it's really what got me into listening to audiobooks. So that is it for the month of July in terms of my reading. So I am hoping for a better month in August, but so far I feel like my reads have been quite slow. I haven't really like gravitated. So I'm hoping that picks up throughout the month, that I kind of get back into my like reading speed, but it's fine as long as I'm kind of enjoying the books. It's fine. I've got a lot of books out from the library, so for my August vlog I will talk through some of those books. But yeah, that is it for the month of July. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in another one. Bye.